Hello everyone. It's that time of year again when the birds are singing, the quail are out looking for food, and tabletop gamers from around the world are once again looking to get into BattleTech. Of all the problems to have, an influx of new players is a pretty good one. But where do you go if you're interested in checking out the game? Not to worry, Mechwarrior has your back. As with any possible new game, you're going to want to learn a little bit about it before spending any of your hard-earned money. Thankfully, Catalyst Game Lab has you covered with a free primer that outlines the basic history, major factions, and even offers some helpful tips for what sourcebooks might be valuable if you do take that next step. I've included a direct link to it in the video notes below so you don't have to go search for it on their web store. In short, by the 31st and 32nd centuries, humanity has spread across the stars and colonized a big chunk of the Milky Way galaxy. While most people have long since left Earth behind, ambition, greed, and hubris is still very much a part of their lives. Nations of tens or hundreds of star systems are led by powerful armies and military organizations that seek to outplay each other for control of territory. While each have their own motivations and goals, it all mixes together into a rich tapestry of lore and conflict. Most battles in the game are fought using battle mechs, which are large bipedal, mostly, machines that carry large amounts of weaponry into the fray. They can be equipped with a large variety of different weapons and equipment and make for a unique experience every time you play. Plus, many of them look really cool. One of the best pieces of advice I can give to a prospective BattleTech player is to start small and avoid being overwhelmed by the large amount of lore and optional rules. BattleTech is a very different game from others like Warhammer 40k, where you have to spend a lot of time, effort, and money to build and memorize the rules of the faction and construct and paint the army. Most of the rules in BattleTech beyond the core set are optional and can be added and removed from the experience a la carte, which is very good for new players who might otherwise be bogged down and overwhelmed by rolling piloting skill rules after running across rubble or trying to sort out what the modifier is for shooting at night during a snowstorm with a full moon, so on and so forth. As you play and gain experience, you may want to add additional rules and mix things up. So long as your opponent is cool with it, you're good to go. A small quibble I have with the primer is that it doesn't direct you immediately to either the Game of Armored Combat box or the beginner box, which is odd. If you've read through the primer and are still somewhat curious but want to dip your toe in the water, the BattleTech beginner box is a good next step. For roughly $25 US, you receive 2 of the plastic battle mechs, a paper hex map, some tokens, record sheets for them, and other goodies which can help you get a taste for the game. For that price, it's a really good value for someone who just wants to try it out and see what it's like. If you already know you're going to want to try the full experience instead of the beginner box, I would pick up the Game of Armored Combat. For roughly $50 US, you receive 8 plastic battle mechs ready to play, maps, dice, record sheets, tokens, and other goodies that will be everything you need to enjoy the game. Isn't it refreshing not to have to dump $500 into a game before you can really enjoy it? Now there is a third option for those of you who enjoy a streamlined gameplay experience closer to what you would see with 40k or Age of Sigmar. The Alpha Strike rule set was built around making gameplay faster and allowing for larger battles within the same time frame. Instead of using small units of battle mechs clashing, you can really cram the battlefield full and expect to finish within a few hours. Catalyst has done a good job of reducing the amount of paperwork on each mech during a turn. However, there is a level of detail and strategy which is sacrificed when you're no longer choosing specific weapons to fire and other minutiae. If you know you're going to want a faster gameplay experience, the Alpha Strike box set retails for $65 US and comes with 13 mechs, the Alpha Strike rules, and a bunch of other things that'll help make your games more fun. If you're not into the tabletop experience but still want to get into the lore, which is actually quite common, there are dozens of novels which cover the various time periods, factions, and major events from the BattleTech universe. Deciding where to start can be a little tricky, and every BattleTech fan seems to have their own unique opinion on the topic. Personally, I think Catalyst answers the question in their own web store, as they have the Grey Death trilogy from William H. Keith for only $5. That's 3 novels set in an easy-to-absorb era of BattleTech at a really good price. Decision at Thunder Rift is still one of my favorite BattleTech books because it has some really good 3025 era mechs in it, and the characters are some of the best in the entire IP. Laurie Kalmar is awesome and really demonstrates what it means to be a good leader. Grayson's okay too. Another inexpensive option Catalyst offers is the BattleTech Anthology 8, a legacy. It's only $5 as well, and has a collection of short stories set across the various eras in the IP's history. My last piece of advice, if you're looking to get into BattleTech, is to ask questions. On Facebook, Twitter, or on other gaming discords, someone out there is going to have the answers you seek. One of the really great parts of the community online is almost everybody is super friendly and willing to help out. I think it has to do with the game being in a bit of a dormant period for a good 15 years, so we're all just so excited to talk about the game again. To wrap this up, know that BattleTech is a very flexible game system which is inexpensive, yet as deep as you want to make it. You don't have to worry about your mechs being made obsolete by future releases, and you don't have to fret about updated rules every 2 years requiring a whole new investment. There are still BattleTech players enjoying the game as it was back in the 1980s, using models released in the 1980s and 90s. It doesn't matter if the game is a 10v10 Alpha Strike, Slugfest, or a heavily ruled up match between two mechs on Solaris 7. It's a game that can provide very deep value and enjoyment for many years. I love BattleTech because in so many ways, it's a timeless experience. My children are learning the same game that I learned when I was 12, and it has aged so well. While there are a few silly BattleTech novels and factions that have aged better than others, the stories told within the BattleTech universe are timeless. If you're considering giving the game a try, I really do hope that you do. I'll keep an eye on the video comments. If you have specific questions about the game or where to go next, feel free to ask. Additionally, if you're a longtime BattleTech player and have some advice for new players, I'd love to hear that in the comments as well. I have left the link to the BattleTech primer as well as the link to the Grey Death trilogy and the anthology in the video notes, so you don't have to search around for them in the web store. If you're on board, welcome to the fray, Mechwarrior. Life may be cheap in the 31st century, but battle mechs aren't. Until we meet again, take care and go make the world a slightly better place today and tomorrow.